China angesprochen wird, teilweise auch ohne China explizit zu nennen. Das hat damit zu tun, dass China hier in der Region des Indopazifik eine äußerst expansive Machtpolitik betreibt, mit vielen Nachbarstaaten sich im Konflikt befindet, Gebietsansprüche erhebt. Es geht da um Fischereizonen, um Schifffahrtswege, um die Souveränität über Inseln, um Rohstoffe. Da ist also viel Konfliktpotenzial in dieser Region und das kann zum Beispiel in der Frage Taiwans in Zukunft auch eskalieren, denn hier ist ja China dabei, quasi ständig anzukündigen, dass notfalls auch mit militärischer Gewalt es sich diese Insel einverleiben will. Und da setzen die G7 eben ein klares Stoppsignal. Nicht nur in der Frage Taiwans, sondern auch im Interesse der anderen asiatischen Nachbarstaaten Chinas. Die G7 beobachten diese Entwicklung mit großer Sorge und sie zeigen hier ganz klar China Grenzen auf, muss man sagen. Wobei gleichzeitig wird China von Seiten der G7 auch die Hand für Verhandlungen entgegengestreckt. Das ist schon ein ganz interessanter Balanceakt, denn die G7-Staaten und ihre Außenminister wissen natürlich ganz genau, wie wichtig der Handel mit China auch für sie ist. Und deswegen wird das Ganze verbunden mit dem Appell an den Verhandlungen.
Was hat ChatGPT zu tun mit der Ausbeutung von Arbeitskräften in Afrika? Diese Arbeitnehmer in Afrika trainieren künstliche Intelligenz, riesige Datenmengen, mit denen Sprachmodelle wie ChatGPT gefüttert werden. Zwei Wissenschaftler sagen jetzt, KI zementiert diese Ausbeutung. Unser Thema heute im Tech Talk auf Tagesschau 24. Außerdem in den kommenden 10 Minuten Samsung erwägt den Abschied von Googles Suchmaschine. Amazon steigt ein ins Rennen um künstliche Intelligenz und Elon Musk gründet eigene KI-Firma. Künstliche Intelligenz, Sprachmodelle wie ChatGPT, Bildgeneratoren wie Stability AI, sie sind das Thema der Stunde. Damit diese Modelle aber funktionieren, müssen Großrechner aus riesigen Datenmengen lernen. Und das können sie nicht allein, Menschen müssen helfen. Zwei französische Wissenschaftler haben nun veröffentlicht, unter welchen Bedingungen dies passiert. Hinter KI stehen prekäre Arbeitsverhältnisse im globalen Süden, sagen die Forscher. Ihr Fokus lag auf französischen KI-Firmen, die ihre Modelle vor allem mit Hilfe von Arbeitskräften in Madagaskar trainieren. Clément Leludec und Maxime Cornet. Warum stehen hinter der KI-Explosion so viele Arbeitnehmerinnen und Arbeitnehmer in Niedriglohnländern?
Well, you see, to train an AI model, you need a vast amount of data, basically, to train it to recognize what you are trying to.
Um ein KI-Modell zu trainieren, brauchst du eine riesige Menge Daten. Wenn du es zum Beispiel darauf trainierst, Katzen zu erkennen, brauchst du 1000 oder 10.000 Katzenbilder, um dem Computer zu zeigen, wie eine Katze aussieht. Und diese Arbeit wird nicht bei Google oder den anderen großen Tech-Konzernen gemacht, sie wird ausgelagert, oft an Arbeitskräfte im globalen Süden, die dann auf Bildern Katzen einkreisen, um dem Computer beizubringen, Katzen zu erkennen.
And the task look like people sitting at computers and circling cats on pictures to train a computer to recognize cats.
Wie sind die Arbeitsbedingungen von diesen Arbeitskräften?
So regarding working conditions, there are really two types of companies. Informal one, whereas there is no law applying.
Mit Blick auf die Arbeitsbedingungen gibt es zwei Beschäftigungsarten. Bei den eher informellen haben die Arbeitskräfte zum Beispiel keinen Zugang zu Krankenversicherungen. Es gibt aber auch Unternehmen, in denen die Arbeitskräfte besser abgesichert sind, aber generell sind die Löhne zu niedrig, damit Arbeitskräfte damit beispielsweise in der Hauptstadt von Madagaskar, Antananarivo, leben können, auch weil die Inflation dort hoch ist.
Salary are around 90 euros, which is higher than.
Sie verdienen etwa 90 Euro im Monat. Das liegt höher als der Mindestlohn in Madagaskar. Das ist gut, aber für die Arbeiter sind die Löhne zu niedrig, um davon in Antananarivo leben zu können.
As not sufficient for them to live in the capital Antananarivo.
Wir hören, KI wird menschliche Arbeit ersetzen. Stimmt das denn dann?
Not really. We kind of think that it will transform human labor rather than replace it. And one of the main reasons for that is that you need someone to verify.
Nein, wir sehen, dass KI die menschliche Arbeit verändert und nicht ersetzt. Das liegt daran, dass irgendjemand sicherstellen muss, dass die Ergebnisse von KI auch stimmen. Und das wird an dieselben Arbeitskräfte ausgelagert, die die Modelle auch trainieren. Jedes neue Angebot braucht dann wieder ein neues Training und das Ergebnis muss wieder überprüft werden bei jedem Fehler.
And anytime that you deploy a model in production, you need someone to verify the result and correct the model each time you make a mistake.
Was sind eure Vorschläge mit Blick auf die Weiterentwicklung von KI angesichts dieser Arbeitsverhältnisse?
Our findings show that workers are really essential to this production process, doing AI models. So we need to make them more visible.
Unsere Forschung zeigt, dass die Arbeitskräfte essentiell für die Vorhersagen der Modelle sind. Also müssen wir sie auch sichtbar machen. Wir müssen sie besser bezahlen als heute und ihren wichtigen Anteil an der Arbeit öffentlich machen. Wir brauchen ordentliche Arbeitsverträge für sie mit sozialer Absicherung und auch mit Blick auf die Regulierung von künstlicher Intelligenz müssen wir diesen Teil der Arbeit einbeziehen. Denn einige Firmen machen nicht öffentlich, welchen Anteil diese Arbeitskräfte und ihre Entscheidungen haben. Wir müssen das sichtbar machen, um zu verstehen, wie KI-Modelle von Unternehmen entwickelt werden.
Make public the way they use those data workers and the decisions they took during the process of producing data. So we need to make this part of the production process visible to understand how AI models are built by companies.
Dankeschön, Maxime Cornet und Clément Leludec. Das Interview habe ich auf Englisch geführt und bearbeitet. Also, Jobs gehen durch künstliche Intelligenz nicht verloren, sondern sie werden verlagert in Billiglohnländer. Die französischen Forscher sind nicht die ersten, die über die prekäre KI-Arbeit berichten. Schon im Januar titelte das Time Magazine, auch OpenAI, die Firma hinter ChatGPT und DALL-E, nutze Arbeitskräfte in Kenia. Die Stundenlöhne unter $2 bezahlt von einem Unternehmen, das mit rund 29 Milliarden US-Dollar bewertet wird. Einer der Auftragnehmer von OpenAI war die Firma Sama, die auch Content-Moderation für Meta aus Afrika machen lässt. Für OpenAI sollten die afrikanischen Arbeiterinnen und Arbeiter Fotos bewerten und dabei auch düsterste Bilder von Kindesmissbrauch und Gewalt bearbeiten, damit die Anwendungen von OpenAI, ChatGPT, DALL-E diese erkennen und weniger toxisch sind, so der Auftrag. Die Arbeiter lehnten dies ab, Sama kündigte den Auftrag schließlich. Einen Vertrag kündigen wird möglicherweise auch Samsung. Die New York Times berichtet, der südkoreanische Mobilfunkhersteller erwäge, seinen Vertrag mit Google nicht mehr zu verlängern. Es geht um die Integration der Suchmaschine auf den Samsung-Handys. Gut 3 Milliarden Dollar pro Jahr stehen da für Google auf dem Spiel. Und worum geht es wirklich genau? Um die Konkurrenz durch ChatGPT und Bing. Markus Schuler, BR-Korrespondent im Silicon Valley. Was ist der genaue Grund? Warum erwägt Samsung offenbar, Google von seinen Telefonen zu schmeißen?
Ja, Samsung findet anscheinend die Bing-Suche von Microsoft spannender, denn die läuft mit ChatGPT 4 im Hintergrund. Wer hätte das gedacht, Björn? Nach 25 Jahren im Suchgeschäft kommt plötzlich ein Softwareunternehmen namens Microsoft um die Ecke und macht Google in seinem Stammgeschäft heftige Konkurrenz. Da tut es gut, sich einmal die zeitliche Abfolge genauer anzuschauen. Im November vergangenen Jahres, da kam ChatGPT heraus. Im Februar hat das KI-Werkzeug Microsoft dann in seine Bing-Suche integriert. Und jetzt drohen Google schon Kündigungen. Spannend dürften deshalb auch die Vertragsverhandlungen dieses Jahr mit Apple werden. Der Vertrag mit dem iPhone-Hersteller, der läuft in diesem Jahr nämlich aus und er ist gut 20 Milliarden Dollar wert.
Wie reagiert Google?
Ja, fairerweise sollte man sagen, dass der Vertrag mit Samsung noch nicht verloren ist. Angeblich wird noch verhandelt, aber erste Reaktionen bei Google, die müssen wohl ein Schock gewesen sein für die Beschäftigten des Unternehmens. Google und sein Suchmaschinengeschäft, das war immer so etwas wie ein riesiger Monolith, der über dem Internet thront. Ein Unternehmen, das in seinem Hauptgeschäftsfeld quasi als uneinholbar galt. Es hat dem Konzern im vergangenen Jahr rund 162 Milliarden Dollar an Einnahmen beschert.
Markus, könnte KI für Google jetzt zur Bedrohung werden?
Na, künstliche Intelligenz kann sehr präzise sein. Die Suche von Google, das wissen wir, ist das genau nicht. Ein Beispiel aus der Praxis. Ich habe gestern auf meinem Hypervisor-Server eine Fehlermeldung bekommen und weil ich eine virtuelle Maschine mit Windows 11 installieren wollte, ich habe diese Fehlermeldung dann in die Google-Suche eingegeben und Dutzende von Links und genauso viele verschiedene Lösungsvorschläge bekommen. Dieselbe Fehlermeldung habe ich dann bei ChatGPT eingestellt und nach einer detaillierten Anleitung gefragt, wie das Problem am besten zu lösen ist. Und innerhalb von 5 Sekunden hat mir ChatGPT eine perfekte und richtige Antwort ausgegeben. Genau darin besteht eben diese Bedrohung für das Geschäftsmodell von Google. Wenn die Antworten so präzise wie bei ChatGPT ausfallen, ist einfach kein Platz mehr für Werbung da. Die interessiert mich dann nicht mehr. Ich habe überhaupt nicht mehr die Zeit, sie zu lesen. Sie wird dann überflüssig.
Google hat vor ein paar Wochen seinen KI-Bot BART vorgestellt. Ein großer Erfolg, Markus, war das bisher nicht, oder?
Ja, und das zeigt ja das Dilemma von Google. Der Konzern hechelt der Entwicklung gerade ständig hinterher. Jetzt hat man wohl eilig eine 160 Personen große Projektgruppe ins Leben gerufen. Ihr Name Meigi. Und die soll dafür sorgen, dass die Google-Suche in den kommenden Wochen mehr und mehr mit KI-Funktionen aufgepimpt wird. Das alles ist bislang nur für die USA geplant. So soll ein Chatbot im Chrome-Browser in die Seitenleiste integriert werden, so wie das Microsoft übrigens mit Bing schon macht. In der Bildersuche soll es ein Tool namens Giphy künftig geben, das KI-Bilder generieren kann, und ein anderes KI-Werkzeug mit dem Namen Tivoli Tutor soll einem helfen, Fremdsprachen zu lernen. Für Google wird das zu einem gefährlichen Spagat, denn je besser die KI-Tools funktionieren, umso mehr läuft man eben Gefahr, sein Kerngeschäft zu kannibalisieren.
Dankeschön, Markus Schuler, Tech-Experte und BR-Korrespondent im Silicon Valley. Mithalten im KI-Rennen will auch Amazon. Anders aber als Google oder Microsoft, die ja Produkte für uns Verbraucher anbieten, mit der Bing-Suche oder anbieten wollen, mit BART im Falle Google, zielt Amazon auf Geschäftskunden. Der Konzern kündigte an, mehrere KI-Modelle für Kunden verfügbar zu machen, darunter AI21 Labs, Anthropic und Stability AI. Der Name des Projektes Bedrock. Kunden der Amazon Web Services können künftig also diese KI-Modelle in eigene Anwendungen einbauen. Das wird KI weiter verbreiten. Amazon-Chef Andy Jassy schreibt auf LinkedIn, Amazon demokratisiere die Technik, damit kleine wie große Unternehmen sie schnell und bezahlbar nutzen könnten. Haben wir noch vor 2 Wochen hier berichtet über den Aufruf, die KI-Entwicklung zu verlangsamen? Einer der Unterzeichner des offenen Briefes war auch Elon Musk, aber auch der will mithalten im KI-Rennen. Die Financial Times berichtet, dass Musk ein eigenes Unternehmen gründe. Dafür habe er unter anderem Igor Babuschkin unter Vertrag genommen, der bis Februar bei Googles KI-Firma DeepMind arbeitete. Das Wall Street Journal berichtet zudem, dass Musk in Nevada eine Firma gegründet habe mit dem Namen XAI. Und dazu passt auch, dass Musk den Twitter-Namen in X Corp geändert hat und auch dieses Unternehmen nach Nevada verlagert. Musks Berufsleben rankt sich um diesen Namen X. Sein früheres Online-Banking-Startup, das später nach einer Fusion zu PayPal wurde, hieß ursprünglich XCOM und auch eines seiner Kinder nennt er X. Wir heißen weiter Tech Talk und laufen immer dienstags auf Tagesschau 24 auf dem YouTube-Kanal der Tagesschau. Außerdem gibt es uns als Podcast unter techtalk24.net und in der ARD-Infonacht im Radio. Tschüss, bis kommende Woche.
Kann ich noch nicht wirken.
Which Joe?
Returning from Spain with 8,000 cigarettes.
Joe Ma.
Spain is within the EU, so Joe just needs to work out their consumption rates and make sure they're not intending to sell the goods illegally.
Okay,
Easier said
I'm not ordering the whole thing, just only half of it.
than
Okay,
done.
I finished my pizza.
Right, and these are your cigarettes, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And how many do you smoke? Both.
Dude, that is the healthiest UK resident.
She smokes a lot more than me.
So how much do you smoke? Sorry? 500 a week.
I smoke quite a few more. Between
How many
I
a day then? How many do you smoke?
Like a trooper, she said.
Have you been stopped by before?
No, I haven't.
No?
Who is he anyhow? What is he? What is he? A pilot or something?
No? No. Okay. Alright, so
What are you, a pilot?
a pilot?
Well, you've got feet
No,
on.
I'm a customs officer.
Oh,
Alright, just bear
I
with me.
didn't know that.
Joe now needs to work out if he believes their story.
She's got open packets on him. Can't really get a lot of sense out of him. But she reckons she smokes 50, 60, and she possibly could. Really won't. She's going again on Sunday, but I'm tempted to, well, the way everything's going, just to write down what he got and see what she brings in on Sunday.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Joe decides to let them go.
You want to put them in your bag?
What, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sensing it's his lucky day, the passenger decides to try it on.
Cotton bottle of spirit she could sell out there cheap. Cotton.
What?
Hey, can't do that. Hey, a couple of bottles of spirit, it's for, for Christmas. Oh, they're getting the spirit of things.
Okay.
The lady will be searched again when she returns on Sunday.
But if she brings anything through next time she travels, then she won't be. She'll be losing that basically. But I really doubt she will.
Wait,
There it is. There.
they let him come in because they're actually gonna smoke them.
He's quite happy, quite a character. He even offered for me to go round his house for a cup of tea one day. Which is quite
What? Yeah, go do it, man. Ah, come on, man.
In Dover, customs officers face a massive challenge sniffing out drug dealers from the thousands of trucks streaming across the channel 24 hours a day.
At the end of the day,
Who's Ben?
In Dover, customs officers face a massive challenge sniffing out drug dealers from the thousands of trucks streaming across the channel 24 hours a day.
At the end of the day, we are here first and foremost to stop drugs coming into the country. That's our primary role. If we get a smell of anything, we'll track it down until we either find it or we're happy that there's nothing there.
Usually the intelligence hub picks out target vehicles based on a variety of profiles. But today, Mark is literally following his nose.
Just caught it again as well.
He's picked up a suspicious scent, and the Dutch truck must now be thoroughly searched.
On the other side, when I was doing the outsides, I caught a whiff of what I thought was perhaps a herbal substance. I don't want to say too much, the driver's right behind you. Some kind of a possibly controlled drug. I think it's strong enough to have a look in the vehicle, and three of us have caught a whiff of it. Offload bay around there, and we want to take part of your load off and have a look in the lorry, okay? Yeah, over there, yeah.
Mark then spots something else that adds to his suspicions.
I just noticed that the tyres and some parts of it underneath are splattered with mud. Begs the question, has he been off-road somewhere? Has he been diverted for a purpose? The pallet he's getting off now is the one that was nearest to the smell, if you like, at the front left-hand corner. I can't smell anything now, funnily enough, but we'll have a look.
The driver can claim compensation for any damage, but Mark thinks this truck needs this final test.
ah.
Perhaps the smell of cannabis was coming from another vehicle, and Mark decides it's time to let this driver go.
Yeah.
Sprawdzono mi towar, naczepę, przewiercono, prześwietlono, sprawdzono całe auto. I myślę, że wszystko jest ok, że jest super, jest dobrze.
And as one job finishes, another ferry full of potential smugglers hits
Come on.
the docks.
Another target vehicle coming in on the 1300 arrival from Dunkirk. It's all go sometimes. I just say Thursday was a busy day.
Officers in Gatwick are also investigating a possible Class A drug smuggler acting suspiciously at immigration control.
As soon as she was starting to be questioned, she said she wants to go to the loo, so She might have something concealed inside her or on her body she wants to get rid of. So you've come in from Nigeria. You live in Nigeria? You live
Dude,
here?
she's chilling.
Whereabouts do you live here? Waltham Abbey? Okay, what do you do here?
Care assistant.
Okay, so how long have you been in Nigeria for this trip?
2 weeks.
Is that a holiday or business? Seeing family, friends? Okay. This is all your baggage?
Yes.
You packed it all yourself?
Yes.
Okay, you come into the Green Channel, nothing to declare, you understand what you're allowed to do.
Dude, she's chilling. No shot.
You realise there are other restrictions coming into the country, things like drugs and firearms. Has anyone asked you to bring anything here? Anyone forced you to bring anything here? Okay, let's have a quick look here.
Oh! Dude. Wait, there was a restriction on the AK and the M4 and the cocaine. Dude!
Andy
No
searches the bags.
shot, man.
The passenger's still
Like,
acting
what the
nervous,
fuck?
so he also swabs the bags for drugs.
Well, I mean, why would...
Shout out to Offline in chat.
The bag tests positive for heroin. So this search will have to go further.
The body language is quite good. I've had a hit of for heroin on the iron scan. Just want a quick rub down, make sure she's not got anything. Okay, just before you go, I'd just like for a lady officer to make sure you have nothing on you. Okay, you have any problem with that? No, good, thank you.
Hundreds of passengers a year are caught smuggling drugs through Gatwick. The body search will find out if this passenger is one of them.
Okay, show me then.
Back in Dover, the next target has been pulled by the specialist rummage team.
I was watching the episode.
It's an awkward load, exactly the sort of cover used by smugglers to conceal drugs and tobacco.
It's just such a
All of this for balls?
I mean, it's a children's playground, isn't it, basically?
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, the bags of balls, yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Hey, might take a while.
That shit is dusty. Ain't no kids gonna play on that thing. Ugh.
Yeah. It might take a while.
That shit is disgusting.
Handballed off, basically. I mean, I don't know whether they get a forklift in there, get some of the stuff, but I mean, yeah, you see things like this now and again, but it's not the norm. I mean, I'm just guessing it's some sort of children's playground that's been out in Spain for the season and is being brought back.
Oh, okay, fair
it's a
enough.
good cover load, isn't it? I mean, it's very difficult to get over the top of and to see in amongst.
After hours of offloading, the team finds some suspiciously heavy wooden boxes.
Yeah. No. They made it look like the spongy steps, haven't they?
It's extremely suspicious, so the team decide to drill the boxes.
And then you saw the load, how difficult it was
And
to
my
get in
son
there.
was
They
gonna play on
managed
that.
to get themselves in there, identified these packages. They drilled a hole, and inside there's some green plastic. I think it was in that one. It's in that one. It's in that one. It's in that one.
Stuart thinks the plastic packaging could indicate drugs.
I would think that there'll be a large quantity of cannabis in there, maybe up to a ton.
The driver is arrested while they work out what they found.
But it's a slow, methodical process now. There's no rush.
After another 2 hours of careful unpacking, the moment of truth has arrived.
It's just about to take the lid off. I think in the porn industry, this is the money shot, isn't it?
Jesus!
It's a massive haul of what looks like cannabis.
Can't smell anything. I'm guessing it's cannabis resin in there. Still can't get anything off it now.
Smells of plastic.
All the boxes are full of bales of cannabis, which have apparently come from a special garden.
The maker's manufacturer mark. It's just their. It's come from that particular cannabis farm in Morocco, or wherever it is it's come from, and they put their own stamp. And that's how it gets shipped out.
officers now want to know just how much they've seized from the smugglers. It's the biggest haul of cannabis at Dover for years.
928.
And the specialist rummage team
That's a ton.
are delighted.
928 kilos, it's nearly a ton. We've had a bit of a lean period actually, our team. We've gone 3 months maybe without anything. We've had a few cigarette seizures might have been on the way, but this is what we call a proper job. Really.
How much is my ton of...
Still to come, officers get to the bottom of the suspected smuggler in Gatwick.
If somebody's got a package shoved up the backside, then if you bend them over, you can either see the package or it'll come out.
Guys,
Coming up, officers get to the bottom of the suspected smuggler in Gatwick.
And if I can get you to hold on to the side of the bench.
There's the wheat, guys.
Okay,
I'm
and
just
if you
gonna.
can put your butter cheeks in.
Guys, I don't want to be on a watch list, dude. I'm trying to look at the prices. There's a price index, dude. How much is a ton of weed worth?
A little bit. With your hands.
In Gatwick, the female officers have arrived to search the woman whose bags tested positive for heroin.
You do a rub down search for us, just make sure you got.
Say 15 bucks per 1 gram. How much kilogram? 10,000? 1,000? So a mil? A 50 mil? A 50 mil?
Customs sees over 400 kilos of heroin each year, and officers in Gatwick regularly catch smugglers willing to go to great lengths to hide their packages.
1,000 kilograms.
Be thorough.
Kilo is 1,000. 1,000 times 1,000 times.
Squatting thing. If somebody's got a package shoved
15.
on the backside, then if you bend them over and squat, then unfortunately you can either see the package or it'll come out generally.
Okay, and what you'll need to do is squat down for me so I can check that you haven't got anything inserted in any of your orifices, okay? So you'll need to squat down for me.
Somebody said that weed is very expensive in the UK.
Bend over and
That's
put
what I
your
heard.
cheeks for me as well.
In chat.
But as I said, you won't be touched at any time, so there's no need to worry about that. And if I can get you to hold on to the side of the bench, okay? And if you can pat your butter cheeks a little bit with your hands. Pat your butter cheeks. That's fine, okay? And if you can just turn around for me and squat down for me as well.
What the fuck?
Right, okay, that's fine.
The search finds nothing, but the passenger is surprisingly understanding of her treatment.
It's good because it makes you to be scared to do such things. I came to this country just to make a living for me and my children and my family. That's it. I do my work. I can work 24/7. I don't want just quick money or anything. I believe in my handiwork. What I can do with my hands to get money. I know that.
Oh, that's nice.
Today is the start of a 2-week tour of duty for the customs officers aboard Customs Cutter Searcher.
Well, it's embarrassing, is sometimes you have a lot of, I'm not gonna. Sometimes you have a lot of hair, and sometimes you don't wipe all the way through.
To identify a ship heading to the Cornish port of Foy from Turkey, the gateway to Europe for heroin, opening the poppy countries of Asia.
Just Turkey with 15 Turkish crew on board. Obviously, with a Turkish ship, we've got the possibility of heroin being on board the ship. There's also a good chance there'll be some cigarette smuggling from Romania because LNMs are extremely cheap.
The race is now on to beat the ship into Foy, so the officers track the vessel into port.
As may not be expecting us, I doubt very much they'll be expecting us.
Catching smugglers off guard is vital to prevent any drugs or tobacco being thrown overboard before it can be seized.
It's okay. Okay, if we come in, Captain. Have
Wait.
you a crew declaration?
Chat, couldn't they have some of the packages or a weird seal at the bottom of the boat, right? In order to start getting caught. Boom, boom, open, clear, boom, and it goes under, and you never see it on the surface. It's going under. Boom, 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 boom.
Stores declaration and also ship's declaration, Captain.
They never see it.
The captain appears to run a tight ship, But sometimes the opportunity for the crew to make extra money on the side can't be resisted.
My crew will be checking the rest on that, and if there's any problems at all, I'll come and have a word with you. I'm not expecting any, so that's okay. You've had no problems with drugs or anything with the crew?
No. I'm sure that's...
Yeah, you sure that's okay, yeah? Okay, that's fine. Right, thank you, Captain. I mean, it's from Turkey, so, I mean, our suspicions are aroused for heroin really more than anything else. Also, as we mentioned before, it's cigarettes are cheap in Turkey, and it's also come via Romania and Spain, which are also quite cheap for buying cigarettes. So there is a chance that the crew might be tempted to smuggle large quantities of cigarettes. But what we're really after here is heroin.
Investigation officers in Dover also work around the clock to stop organised criminal gangs bringing drugs into Britain.
Back in July of 2004, a vehicle was stopped at the Eastern Docks of Dover, driven by a gentleman by the name of David Williams. When his lorry was stopped and searched, a couple of brown-taped packages were found in the cab of his lorry.
The packages were full of drugs.
As a result of that, David Williams was arrested. And that was how it all began.
Williams was questioned about the drugs, while his truck, belonging to Peter Jones Haulage, was impounded and searched, much to the annoyance of its owner.
Well, Mr. Jones would have been quite enthusiastic to get his trailer back anyway, because he had a business to run, apparently. There had been one or two calls where he would make inquiries as to when he could have his trailer back. And, well, he was overly enthusiastic, in my opinion.
Alerted by his urgency to recover the truck, investigators began to dig into Peter Jones's background.
Peter Jones had been convicted twice before. In 1997 as part of a conspiracy to import drugs within adapted exhausts in units, articulated units. At that point, I sort of decided that perhaps we ought to look a bit deeper into either the unit or the trailer.
Now knowing Peter Jones's pedigree, the search wouldn't miss the clues a second time.
In the side locker of the trailer, there was a box of grey bungs, and they were sort of consistent with the bungs that were holding the mudguards over the wheels on the trailer.
They found a strange tool which unlocked a secret compartment full of Class A drugs.
Once they'd finished the search, they removed a large number, a further large number of packages, and a significant quantity of cocaine and heroin amongst those packages.
The elaborately engineered concealment fitted perfectly with Jones's previous attempts, and it was obvious why he'd been so keen to get his truck back. A team of specialist officers went to Liverpool to arrest Jones and gather financial evidence, which would prove his lavish lifestyle could only be funded by drug dealing.
So weird.
So it's put to Mr. Jones during the interview that he seemed to have a far better standard of living than the officer who interviewed him, who coincidentally was on the same money that was declared by Jones. Jones quite simply said, well, he didn't drink and he didn't smoke, and by making these savings, he could afford the extra 3 or 4 cars a year, the big house, the luxury holidays.
When interviewed, Jones denied any knowledge of the attempted importation.
His response to the drugs being found were that he had no idea they were in his trailer. His response to the fact that the trailer had been adapted suggested to him that, in fact, it wasn't his trailer after all. It must be evidence that was gradual.
No heroin has been found, but a search for cigarettes is underway. The Turkish crew are only allowed 200 cigarettes each whilst in UK waters. All other tobacco must be kept in a sealed store called the bomb.
Well then, boys, as far as the crew themselves go, nobody has declared more than 200 cigarettes. And only 4 people have any spirits at all.
But what the crew declare isn't always the whole truth. And so the officers must search the entire ship for illegal goods, which might be destined for the local black market. Not surprisingly, the cabin searches reveal a few stray cigarettes.
It's okay so far. I mean, some of the crew got a little bit extra, but
oh,
there's
boo-hoo.
no point in upsetting people just for tiny quantities of cigarettes.
But Woody also finds a stash in the ship's office and in the wheelhouse. The ship may not be as clean as first thought.
Was the cigarettes that were there earlier on? These? Okay. We've checked in here already. We've checked the chief officer's cabin, and the cigarettes that were up there have moved down here now, and they're moving things around.
Keine Hurricane.
Right, on this occasion, can you tell the chief I'll just take the cigarettes from him? Otherwise, we have these going ashore for business, yeah? And we want no business in Foy. So I wouldn't usually take this or not like that, but because he's been obstructive in trying to move the cigarettes around.
Why don't they put it in the ceiling?
We're just a bit concerned that there seems to be a lot of stray cigarettes around the vessel.
Yes.
We found, like you said, 300 in the chart table, 300 in the office.
Yes.
Are there any more cigarettes before we search the vessel?
Look how huge the boat is. All this metal, all these compartments, all these small holes, and they put what they would smuggle in their drawers. Really did.
Around the vessel.
Yes.
We found, like you said, 300 in the chart table, 300 in the office.
Yes.
Are there any more cigarettes before we search the vessel any further now?
I think no, we should. Just a moment, please. No.
No, that's definitely no more cigarettes, no?
No.
If there are any more cigarettes now, this is an opportunity for you to ask the crew to bring the cigarettes to us now before we find them. If we find cigarettes now when we search, we will be, we will have to work for them, and we will be cross, and we will probably find the vessel. Okay. So this is a chance for you to come to us now with any cigarettes, yeah?
No, we don't have more.
No more cigarettes.
I don't expect them to, okay?
But Woody then finds another 2,000 cigarettes in the captain's cabin, which will have to be seized.
Dude!
In one drawer, or four. He stood in front of the next drawer. I searched everywhere, waiting for him to move, and opened the drawer he stood in front of. Opened the drawer, found the remainder.
The embarrassed captain asks Senior Officer Colin for clemency.
Could I take back the little bits? Because not enough our cigarettes for the turkey from here. For that reason, could I take a little bit more cigarettes?
You go back to Turkey?
11 days.
11 days trip?
From here. Plus 2 days here.
Yeah.
13 days.
I'm sorry, but the answer's... If you said...
opinion.
I know, but if you put in the list, you'd said the cigarettes that you had, we could have had them in the bond locker, but because you
of course.
did that, but you didn't tell us you had the cigarettes. Okay? And it's in this country, I know some places you go, there's representation,
come on, man.
All that happens. Here,
Couldn't they de-seal them, open them, and then put them in the drawers like that, so that the cigarettes cannot be really sold? Like, obviously they wouldn't sell them, they would smoke them, dude. That seems kind of reasonable. So they don't die.
it doesn't happen.
The cigarettes will all be destroyed, and the vessel will receive a hefty fine if caught breaking the rules again.
Dieser Zauber ist noch nicht bereit. Ich bin außer Reichweite.
Besides already. Suspicious packages, huh?
Das lädt immer noch auf.
Arresting you. Nope, we haven't seen this before.
We suspect it to contain herbal cannabis, and that's why the gentleman's been arrested in caution.
Thousands of dollars turn up at Gatwick that can't be accounted for.
Have you got documentation to prove that? Because otherwise the money can be seized off you.
This does not have sans content. Hey, man, this is my niche, man. I found this. I found this, man. This is my gold mine.
At Gatwick Airport, a flight has just landed from Montego Bay in Jamaica. UK border agency officers are using drug detection dogs and an X-ray machine to monitor luggage coming off the flight. A dog indication has been given on 2 suitcases, and the X-ray strongly suggests that there are drugs drug smugglers on the flight. In the baggage reclaim area, officers closely monitor the first of the passengers to collect one of the suspect's suitcases. A young mother and child collect the case and head towards the customs channels. It's here that Officer Mike steps in to stop the woman.
Uh-oh. With a child.
Your bags you said are yours, they're the damages. Therefore, I am arresting you on suspicion of being involved in the importation of controlled drug. Do not have to say anything, it may harm your defence, but do not mention when questioning something may later rely on you. Anything you do so may be given in evidence. You understand?
The woman is led away for further questioning.
Wait, the UK rights? The way they say it is like NA.
But protests her innocence.
So you guys were wrong last time.
Please don't pay this game. Right, we're going to be getting some women in to search you anyway.
That's fine.
Meanwhile, the second suspect suitcase is
So UK is copying in his content then.
Hello there, sir. You travelling alone today? Just bring your bag over to the bench for me, please.
The man declares he's the owner of the suitcase, so Officer Gary confirms his fate.
I'm arresting you on suspicion of the illegal importation of controlled drug into the UK. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you don't mention, when questioned, something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand you've been arrested and cautioned? Right, if you come this way with me.
The man is also led away for further questioning.
Straight over towards that officer over there.
With both passengers now under arrest, Gary can finally inspect the suspicious brown packages found in the suitcase.
It's just rice, man. Let the men go.
We suspect them to contain herbal cannabis, and that's why the gentleman's been arrested and cautioned.
The contents of the packages will need to be formally assessed to get an idea about the weight and the value of the drugs. Since being in custody, the male passenger's mobile phone has gone off several times.
Certainly trying to get hold of you, aren't they? That's his mobile
They want
phone
their
keeps going
juice.
off. It's obviously his accomplices trying to find out where he is, hopefully looking for their commodity, which they're not going to get.
In Gatwick's South Terminal,
I was watching that.
Passengers have just arrived from Madrid, and border agency officers are on the lookout for signs of suspicious behaviour. A lone male passenger who started his journey in Argentina has been intercepted. After a routine baggage search, Officer Johnson has found thousands of dollars in cash, which the passenger hasn't declared.
Found some money. I've not counted it yet, but he's actually told me that it's about $35,000.
Okay, is that US dollars?
US
yeah,
dollars.
okay.
There.
What's he doing with it? What's he say he's doing with it?
Doesn't have any specific reason for having it.
Any sum of cash over 10,000 euros needs to be
35,000
declared.
seashells.
Officers are entitled to question passengers carrying anything over 1,000 euros to ensure it has no links to organised crime.
The legislation is such that it's down to the individual to prove that the money is his and is for a legitimate purpose. So if we're not sure or uncertain of anything they're saying, we can detain the money, and it's down to them to, like I say, prove that it is legit.
With such a large sum of cash, background checks are
That's
carried
tough.
out on the passenger to find out if he has any prior offences.
Greg, it's Kim. Yeah. Well, he's got 35,000 US on him, so yeah, it's anything really. We just see what we can get on him. Thanks, Greg.
Kim joins her colleague Johnson to continue with the questioning about where
They yoink the money and to prove that it's yours, otherwise it's
Yes,
theirs.
the money is all yours. Yeah. Well, what is it for?
Well, this is the one where I explained to your colleague.
That's pretty crazy.
Back to Argentina for a week.
Mm.
Because my mother died 4 or 5 years ago, and then we just finished all the stuff with regards to the money and
The will and
the
the inheritance. Yeah. Okay.
This is basically my share.
Have you got documentation to prove that? Because otherwise the money can be seized off you. Because you're travelling with over £5,000 worth of cash, and you haven't got any.
Oh no, certainly I can. I mean,
how long would it take you to get these documents?
well,
Have
the
you got-
concern in Argentina.
They're in Argentina, are they?
Yes. I mean, I can get copies.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever the courier takes.
With no documents or other evidence showing where the money's come from, it looks increasingly unlikely the man will be leaving the airport with his cash. In the airport's
Jesus!
officers are still investigating the two passengers who were found to have what looks like packages of herbal cannabis in their suitcases. A strip search was conducted on both passengers, but no further packages were found. The woman is led away to the airport's custody suite to be detained whilst Officer Mike...
You guys make fun of me, but you know when I said the taxes, it's always the taxes. Everything is the taxes. Everything. It always comes down to the taxes. The substances, the materials, the money, the drugs, taxes, dude.
With such a large haul of suspect packages, a field test must be conducted to confirm that the substance definitely is herbal cannabis.
Meaning of life, taxes, 100%.
Put the first drop on it, and that'll go through onto the second bit of filter paper.
It has to be red.
Some of this powdery stuff on it. And if it's positive, it should go sort of a dark red colour.
Yeah.
That's a positive then.
Okay, there's a couple of blankets there. If you want anything, just give us a buzz. Okay?
The male
That would be
passenger
fucking
is
disgusting.
also detained at the custody suite.
There's not a lot. And that'll go
Taxes, dude.
together.
With such a large haul of suspect packages, a field test must be conducted to confirm that the substance definitely is herbal cannabis.
Meaning of life, taxes, 100%.
Put the first drop on it, and that'll go through onto the second bit of filter paper.
It has to be red.
Some of this powdery stuff on it. And if it's positive, it should go sort of a dark red colour.
Yeah.
That's a positive then.
Okay, there's a couple of blankets there. If you want anything, just give us a buzz. Okay?
The male
That would be
passenger
fucking
is
disgusting.
also detained at the custody suite.
There's not a lot you can do until he actually gets his solicitor speaks to him. Then after that, other officers will go and interview him. And until then, we're just now going to go through the bags and find out exactly what he's got.
A series of large brown sealed packages are pulled from the bottom of the man's suitcase. There are 8 blocks in total.
So everyone in chat were like, why didn't he just deposit it at the bank in Argentina and then fly? Well, think about it. Think about it this way. Why didn't he do what you think? Why didn't it taxes, motherfucker?
Very significant seizure. Gary weighs the packages of drugs to find out how much the male passenger was carrying.
And as you can see there, the 8 blocks weigh approximately 17.26 kilograms. So there's probably about 16.5 to 17 kilograms of herbal cannabis within them packages.
Seid ihr gekommen, der Allianz zu helfen?
With 2 suitcases full of herbal cannabis
UK is EU.
accepted from the same flight, officers are delighted with the seizure. The 16 blocks found in both suitcases weighed over 34 kilograms in total and had a street value of 80 to 100,000 pounds.
Ich wollte immer nur studieren.
In the South Terminal, officers are still trying to decide what to do with the man who failed to declare he was carrying over $35,000 US and £5,000 in cash.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna help, but I can call Buenos Aires, just try to find my father, and ask him just to fax the documents. The problem is they're gonna be in Spanish.
That's going to be the problem. I think we'll just wait till the officers finish this search, and then we'll go from there. Okay?
If no evidence can be shown for where the cash has come from, drastic action may have to be taken.
If he can't show us any kind of trail for this, and the paperwork's all going to come via his dad, the solicitor, you're going to have to take the money off him. Okay? And then they'll.
I think he knows that actually.
Oh well, I've told him. He's got a laptop, hasn't he?
Jesus.
Yeah. If you ask him, is there any way he can show proof of where this money's come from on that?
Yeah. Okay, I'll
All
go
right.
speak to him.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get everything
Well,
out the back for a search.
guys, you guys say Sag, but you literally, it's impossible to ignore that. Like, I don't know if you guys have flown in an airplane before. You get asked at least 2 or 3 times where you have to check something, you have to sign a document, and it's written in a red. Do you carry more than $10,000 cash? No, no, no. Whenever your plane is landing, do your little fucking immigration form. No, no. Yeah, he knows, dude. Okay, he knows, and he knew. He still tried it.
And further questioning.
So what are you going to do with the money you've got now? This money you've got with you today.
This one? That was
Like, it sucks, but you can't deny it.
First, we were thinking on doing an extension in the house.
Yeah.
But we didn't discuss further really. It's not a decision.
No.
So in the meantime, probably going to.
Have you got kids in there?
Yes.
How many?
2 kids.
Oh, right.
The reason why I did this way, I don't have an account in Buenos Aires anymore. I mean,
But the man's answers are starting to convince. After Kim's background searches show nothing on their system, the officers have a change of heart.
Sarah, it's Kim. Hi, this is going nowhere. I think I've seen his business card. He's on 60,000 a year. He gets, on average, 5,000 to 6,000 a year bonus. He's got a 3-bedroom house. When Franco asked him what he wanted to use the money for, he was going to put some in the bank, and he was talking about actually perhaps doing an extension because his kitchen's a bit small. I mean, he's very relaxed. His non-verbals are very good as well. I think he's a genuine guy, and I think just send him away.
Ha! So they think.
Yeah, and just say next time, make sure you bring all the documents with you.
They actually fell for it.
Thank you very much.
All right, mate, that way I'll come with you.
Despite their initial reservations, officers are happy with the man's story and let him leave the airport with all of his cash. Coming up,
Impressive, they let him go.
Trinidad and Tobago causes suspicion after leaving his country for the very first time.
Just ticking a lot of boxes, mate.
Yeah.
Swallower. Then we rarely see those on that show. I think we've only seen one swallow before.
Coming up, a suitcase is found stuffed with animal skins, and the passenger's excuses aren't washing.
It's claiming rabbit, but clearly not rabbit.
At Gatwick Airport South Terminal,
But why?
a number of European flights have just arrived. And border
That's
agency
just
officer
weird.
Paul is x-raying suitcases for excessive quantities of cigarettes. Cheap cigarettes purchased outside of the European Union are often brought into the country to be sold illegally for personal profit. One bag spotted on the x-ray suspected to contain lots of non-EU cigarettes. So Paul heads to the luggage reclaim area to see who claims the bag.
If I can just see your passports. Thanks.
Looking at X-ray sounds fun.
Are these your bags?
Yeah.
It
Yes,
sounds.
did you pack them
I'd
yourself?
love it so much to do. At least for a little bit.
Do you have anything to declare to customs?
Customs? We Europe Union.
Yes. Okay. Do you have any cigarettes with you? I know we.
Maybe 2 or 3 hours.
To us.
Yeah, but how many cigarettes have you got?
Smuggle 3 spokojnie.
Any in your luggage? No cigarettes. Right. Okay.
Apart from these ones.
Dude,
Straight away, the couple are busted.
you know, people care sometimes. They'll, like they bring onto their luggage some like crazy shit sometimes, like some sort of like electronics device, like a computer. My dad has this thing where he needs his espresso. He can't like live without his espresso, right? Always, every day, an espresso. And this motherfucker, when we travel, okay, when we travel anywhere, he has to bring his fucking espresso machine. I'm not kidding. The whole fucking thing. And he puts in his luggage. And every single time we go to the airport and it goes to the x-ray, the fucking machine, they go, whoa! And then everybody gets pulled over. All the agents gather up and they start opening the thing. What the fuck? And you look to the x-ray. This is some crazy fucking device, whatever. Is it? Oh, sorry, it's just I need my espresso machine. Like, Jesus, man. This was a degenerate. It looks like a fucking bomb then to the fucking machine.
More cigarettes are found concealed in cereal boxes.
So why are they hidden? You don't know why you hide them, and you don't know why you didn't tell me about them. You do know what's going to happen, don't you? You're going to lose all these.
Mother was on that bad. I never got pulled over once.
Cigarettes are not purchased in the European Union, are they? They're not tax-paid cigarettes anyway.
Is there a problem with this?
Yes, absolutely. There's a problem.
Also,
when you lie to me,
TSA agents, I noticed they don't like dyed hair, especially not my blonde hair. They hate it. I think I would get pulled aside like 50%, 60% of the time, I get
tried to hide
psilocybin.
cigarettes, then you...
And then when I have my hair brown, never.
Yes, there's a problem.
I don't know why. I don't know, man.
The cigarettes
Maybe because they look crazy. Maybe because I look nuts. Well, because when the hair is like strawy, I look at.
And that's why you hit. That's why
Look
you
at
hit
crazy.
these. Well, you know that you're in the European Union, and if you buy tax-paid cigarettes in the European Union, then you can bring in this amount. But these aren't tax-paid cigarettes, are they?
Okay, I'm gonna smoke them all, man. Oh, that's a lot, Jesus.
Because at the moment you haven't been honest with me, so I need to check everything, don't I?
You know what they do? At the gate, they take your boarding ticket and they draw something on it, like a line or a symbol. And
Okay,
then you're...
two forms. I've got to issue these to you. One's a warning letter, and one's a seizure
And then you're
information
done.
notice. Thanks very much.
Paul seizes all of the cigarettes.
Yeah, they draw something on it, or on the thing.
Obviously look down at his feet, almost like schoolboyish. If I don't look at you, then and don't speak to you, then it's not really happening.
In Gatwick's
All
North
that
Terminal,
for
plane
cigarettes.
has just come in from Port of Spain via St. Lucia. Flights from the Caribbean are a popular transit route for drug smugglers, and officers working in immigration have concerns about one particular passenger. As he collects his suitcase from the luggage carousel, Officer Paul escorts him through to the customs channels.
Do you have anything to declare to customs?
Oh yeah.
Cigarettes?
Oh yeah, I told you guys about the story about BlizzCon. Yeah, I told you. Dude, it's a short story, okay? It's a short story. Back in days, okay, I had to go to LA for to show the World Cup team, okay? So Blizzard was sending the whole Canada team to the US, right? So we were getting flown out, right? Yeah, I'll go over it really fast. And then so I go to the airport, and whenever you get to the gate, it's always are you traveling for you know, are you like a visit, you know, tourism or whatever, or business, right? And I was wearing a shirt for the first time, and I was well dressed, nice pants, the whole thing, right? And I was like, right there, and I was like, you know, dude, motherfucker, Blizzard is flying me in, right? We're going over there, and I'm a paid professional, you know what? Business. Business. That's who the fuck I is. Business, yo. I get to the gate, and dude, they made me walk all the way to fucking Holdings or whatever, right? I had to spend a whole hour, okay? I was like, oh yeah, Blizzard is a gaming company. I played the video game, and I'm going there to play the and I had to explain, and they're like, dude, they were like, all I have to do is say visit, and there was no way, you know. But now you put business on purpose, and now like we have to deal with this. I was like, yeah, but we're only gonna win the $500. And I talked my way out of it, but it could could have sent me back.
One bottle of alcohol, okay.
They could have sent me back.
Dog Bren also shows an interest in the passenger.
He's in a work visa or whatever,
Showed
right?
an awful lot of interest in this gentleman here. Didn't as such indicate, but it gave me enough information to say, yeah, I'll got that looked at.
Okay, sir, please ask questions about your luggage. Has anybody given you anything at all to bring here? Yeah. Okay. So when did you arrange this trip? Last month. Yeah.
Oh, you got sent back when you did that? Then.
And who bought your ticket? Do you know what she does for work? Do you know what your auntie does for work here? No, you don't know that.
They never know, though.
Paul conducts a thorough search of the man's bags for any signs of drugs.
So in Trinidad, you're a fisherman, yeah? And how much do you get paid doing that then? You're self-employed.
Oh,
depends how many fish you catch. So what are you intending to do while you're here? And what made you want to visit this country?
The leaves.
The story about the seasons doesn't convince.
So you've come here to see autumn, have you? Wow. It's your first time of travel. So you've never even been to another Caribbean island or anything?
I can leave that with you, and I'll have a chat with my boss, and I'll be back with you in a minute, alright? Just ticking a lot of boxes, mate.
Yeah.
Very potentially, third party, his auntie bought the ticket.
Uh-oh, no shot.
Dollars with it. He's never even travelled abroad before.
The dog would show interest in
On his body. His groin area, should we do strip? Yeah, do strip. Hello, sir. Want to do a search on you, okay? To make sure you don't have anything on your body. What we'll do is we'll go to a private room, okay?
Suspecting he may have swallowed packages of drugs, the man is led away for further investigation.
Don't you go to the next story, you bitch! I was watching the whole story. They, dude, this UK editing.
Agency are looking out for. Officer Liz is working in the baggage reclaim area with sniffer dog Cody, who's the airport's newest dog, trained specifically for the detection of products of animal origin.
Stems back from when we had the foot-and-mouth outbreak, and we're trying to sort of stop any sort of food products coming out from outside the EU, certainly meats, cheeses, any sort of products of animal origin really. If there's any sort of parasites or any sort of bacteria, etc., that could get into our own food chain.
More stories I don't have anymore.
What we really are trying to prevent.
Passengers from Istanbul just arrived, and officers in the customs channels.
All my stories are fake.
Seizures of meat and other banned foods.
Yeah, that's really bad. They have to...
One passenger has caught the attention of officers after her suitcase was found to contain a number of animal skins.
I've had a look in the bag. I've come across these skins. She's claiming.
But why though?
Clearly.
You can have this synthetic, and it's the same or better.
Detained. If they're okay, they'll be forwarded on to her. But until we get confirmation, they're going to be detained.
The animal skins will be sent to a specialist unit at Heathrow Airport who deal with items that are suspected to originate from endangered species.
Good.
Certainly a couple of these look like cat, some sort of big game cat, probably. Deer, elk, maybe. And I mean, the obvious thing would say bear there, but until we get it properly looked at, it's going to be very difficult to sort of see really exactly what we are dealing with.
It's an unusual discovery, so Officer Allen decides to use the seizure as a training aid for sniffer dog Cody.
He's still sort of quite a young dog, so he's still new to the actual work. So yes, we use the word scent library.
He's gonna fuck it up.
For the dog. He's never come across these pelts before, so it's what we do. We can put him in the bag, and hopefully he'll remember this smell. It's all part of a sort of development of a young dog, definitely.
The animal skins are hidden in a case.
Just start from there.
And Cody shows an interest first time.
Oh, well done.
Clever boy.
It's early days, but Cody seems to have made a flying start to his new life as a sniffer dog at Gatwick.
Well done.
In the airport's north terminal, the man suspected of having swallowed packages of drugs is still under investigation.
He thinks he's only getting a search.
Strip search, okay? This dog showed an interest trying to go in there, okay?
Okay, I understand.
This guy's overconfident.
Officer Paul conducts a thorough search of the passenger, but he's not found to be hiding anything.
You're not intending to stay here? No?
X-ray.
No?
X-ray.
You sure?
Positively sure about that.
But you don't have a return ticket, no?
They told me I have to return on the 14th of November.
Yeah.
But I didn't get any thing as yet. So.
There's one final way of finding out whether the man is smuggling drugs inside his body.
Oh, how would that be?
Another way people can bring drugs in the country is to have it inside them. Yeah.
Oh.
We have a machine which can do an X-ray. You okay to do that for us?
Why not?
Why not? Okay, good man.
The fisherman volunteers to do a full
body
X-ray.
Nah, he's clear.
It will take just moments to
no
find
content.
out if he's got drugs inside him.
Right, come up here and I'll show you. Right, this is conveyor belt, okay? Okay, so you're going to stand on this, stand up here, and it's going to move when I say, face this way, face this way. Alright, come closer to me here, that's it, legs apart a bit more. Alright, you need to stay very still, otherwise it won't work, we'll have to do it again, okay?
Oh, wait a minute.
Breathe, and breathe out.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Despite their suspicions, this time the X-ray shows there are no packages inside the man's body.
My colleague upstairs still has an interest in you, okay? He's basically a fisherman in Trinidad and Tobago. He doesn't earn very much money. His ticket was bought yesterday by a third party, which is supposedly an auntie, but he doesn't know what that auntie even does for a job or anything like that. Basically, his story and his reasons for coming here not only drew our attention, but also the immigration officials upstairs. So unless possibly they can find this auntie and she could substantiate why he's here, maybe on the next flight home. We'll have to see.
The man was questioned further by officers in immigration and was eventually denied.
I don't really like the
entry
X-ray.
into the
I'm
UK.
happy when they get caught because they shoot the X-ray and it's interesting to look at.
The two cannabis smugglers found with 8 blocks each in their suitcases both pleaded guilty to drug smuggling.
Hey, it's already over.
The man was sentenced to 15 months.
It's already over, man. No shot.
I know it's late, but I just need to whine and complain and rant about a movie I just saw really quickly. You know how much I love bad movies that are so bad that they're good. I think it's the most fun you can have is getting together with friends and watching absolutely atrocious movies or shows that you can laugh at and make fun of together. And there was a new banger, or so I thought, that was coming out called Pope's Exorcist. This is Russell Crowe as what I thought would be like a John Wick of exorcists, going out there and just slapping demons around, like actually kung fuing them and like overpowering them, fist fighting. Like that's the impression I got from the trailer. I thought it was gonna be like absolutely wild and nutty. And I just came back from the theater after seeing it, and my God, there's just a lot that I need to talk about in terms of disappointment and bewilderment that this movie even got made in the first place. So I'm going to treat this like a little confessional here and own up to some sins. Seeing this was a sin. And I understand the Lord forgives all sins, but I feel like after he takes a peek at the Rotten Tomatoes 83% audience score, he's going to flood the earth again out of pure embarrassment for even making our species. This movie is so far from an 83%, it's laughable. It is not good by any means. I don't know why the audience score is so high. Like, it is guilty of more sins than any of the demons in the film. Well, even though there's only one main demon. It is the most generic horror schlock of all time. But its biggest crime is being boring. It borrows every single generic horror plot point, every generic horror movie cliche of like, you know, sitting up from the bed like the Undertaker because the child's possessed and he has like a deep demony voice. Every single like horror movie trope is just ham-fisted into this. All of it dumped into this witch's cauldron and brewed into a disgusting stew. Like, it is not even done in a fun way. There's nothing creative or enjoyable about it. It's boring mostly, though there are some fun moments, like fun bad moments that I'll talk about. But overall, I am just blown away by how uninteresting the film was after seeing the trailer. The trailer got me hyped. I knew this wasn't going to be a good movie. I don't feel like anyone with a working pair of eyes would watch the trailer for The Pope's Exorcist and be like, wow, that might be pretty damn good. Like, that was never a thought that crossed anyone's mind, I doubt. But I, as well as many others, I imagine, were under the impression like, wow, this will be like entertainingly silly. But it really wasn't. It didn't even try to be scary, first of all. Like, that was the wildest thing to me. It really didn't even try to be a horror movie. Its scares mainly consisted of the standard lift people up using, you know, Jedi force powers and throw them around a room, or knock over a couple of crosses. Well, and I guess there is, of course, the cliche of, like, bone snapping, walking on all fours. But past that, it doesn't even really try to build tension. There's not even jump scares, which is like the easiest slam dunk for horror films where they could just throw in a bunch of jump scares and people are like, oh my god, it was horrifying. But it didn't even bother with that. It just does nothing. It's just so bland. It's just an empty calorie of a film. I did something I very rarely do. I took notes during this film because I was so dumbfounded by what I was watching. So I'm just going to go over it start to finish. There will be spoilers. There's a lot I want to talk about. So Russell Crowe hops back in the saddle here, dusting off the acting chops to tackle the lead role of a powerful exorcist named Gabriele Amorth. and the film opens with him performing an exorcist on a guy who's struggling with the devil coming over him. So he's bouncing around the bed all crazy like a toddler going through a sugar rush, and Gabriele is asking him questions like a little interrogation, you know, what's my name? What do you want? Who are you? You're Satan, aren't you? You're Satan. And then he's like, yeah, I'm Satan, I'll possess anyone, I know everything. And then Gabriele's master plan is he brings in a pig and he's like, I don't believe you. You're not Satan. If you were Satan, you could possess this pig. And he's like, yeah, I could possess that pig. I could fucking possess him. Watch me possess that pig. And Gabrielle's like, do it. Possess that pig. So then he does, and then the guy is back to normal. And then once the Satan is inside the pig, they just blast the pig's head off with a shotgun. Which honestly set the bar pretty high immediately, because I was like, okay, that was fun, silly, bad. He just literally did, like, fucking middle school reverse psychology on Satan. What a fucking buffoon to fall for that one. The oldest trick in the book. It's then explained a few scenes later that this wasn't a real possession. This was mental illness. And Gabriele was just doing a bit of theater. But he really did just execute that pig right in front of that guy in order to convince him that the demon was no longer there. And because he executed that pig, he then had to go through like a religious legal proceeding where he stood trial with these other bishops that were like, this is unnecessary. You're performing exorcists. It's not, there's no such thing as this evil, you know, we don't need this kind of big exorcist position anymore. You're out of line, Gabriele. We don't really need you anymore. So Gabriele's like, you guys don't know what real evil is. Even if 98% of them are like mental illness and not real possession, there's still 2% that's just pure evil and you need me. So then he walks out, but not before making a goofy noise. So as he turns his back to him, and it turns out Gabriele was also like a lawyer at one point or something, I believe he mentioned. So this was actually like a Saul Goodman moment where he was just like defending himself in religious court. And it ultimately ends with them being like, yeah, we don't really need you. So Gabriele storms off, and then as he's about to exit the door, he goes, for no fucking reason. Because it was something he did earlier to a group of like nuns that walked by him. I guess that was like a catchphrase they tried, or like a calling card they tried to use for the very beginning of the film and then forgot about it because he never does it again after these two scenes. But there was a group of nuns that walked by him and he goes, like literally blowing raspberries at them, and they giggle and walk by. So then he does it again after that whole religious legal proceeding. And he drops it after that. But it started fun bad. It was like, oh, this is super silly, but it seems almost self-aware and I'm having fun. But then it totally loses all of that charm. The core part of the movie then unfolds where a family just went through a loss with their father and a woman's husband passing away, and the only thing they have left is this giant estate, this holy ground that they're getting like renovations done to. So there's a ton of workers, and they end up unearthing something unholy. Now, before getting to that, the family is as cookie cutter as it gets. The mom's, you know, strong on her own. She's mentally sound, like she's doing everything she can for her children. They mean the world to her. The daughter is a rebellious teen who, I'm not exaggerating, first thing when she gets in the house is goes up to one of the workers, grabs a cigarette, asks for the light, gets a light with the cigarette, then sits on the balcony over the front porch, and the mom's like, put that cigarette out, what are you doing? And she's like, ugh, and then walks off, storms off, mad at her mom. So this was as cliche as it gets with a teenage girl and teenage angst. And then of course she's always listening to like loud music and hates her mom. Like, oh mom, you're being such a square. Get out of my room, mom. I'm busy listening to music. So that's her whole character, which means nothing because after like 10 minutes, none of this shit matters, but that's her. And then they also have a son, a younger brother. He's like 12 or something, I don't really know, but he's traumatized because he watched their dad die. So it wasn't like some kind of normal passing or anything. It was some kind of car accident that wasn't fully explained, but he ended up getting impaled through the head, and the son sat there and watched it. So he was traumatized from it and refused to talk. Now, after all of this is established over the course of like a 5-minute speed run of getting across the most two-dimensional characters of all time, that child is exploring the house, and he goes into the basement and he sees like this glory hole, and he takes a peek through it, and there's like a door with symbols on it, and it ends up kind of possessing him. It sinks its fangs into him. This is how the demon gets in. He literally comes in through the fucking glory hole in the basement. So the child ends up immediately getting possessed within the first couple of minutes of being there. And then some of the workers go into the basement, and they also notice the glory hole. They're like, oh man, this is absolutely absurd. Is there no decency? Where's the class? So they're peeking through the glory hole, and one of them lights a flare and was going to put the flare through the glory hole, but it ends up turning into a flamethrower and cremating them, which scares off all the other workers. So then all the other workers leave, and then it's just the family left in the house with their child who is now possessed. Everything I've explained right now happens almost instantly. Like, all of this was so quick, there was no build up to any of it, no tension at all. It was done as quickly as possible to get to, like, I guess what they deemed to be the scary parts, with the child having like a demon voice and saying crude, creepy things. But anyway, after the possession, the Vatican gets word about this, and then they send Gabriele out there like, Gabriele, I've got real scary stuff happening at this location. He's like, I'm on it, chief. You know, give me my badge and my gun, I'm going in. So Gabriele is then sent there like some kind of fucking religious assassin to take down a demon. And I really thought he was gonna roll up in like some kind of Justice League jet, like or something right out of the X-Men where they have like crazy fucking jet. I thought he was gonna fly in on some high-tech shit, but then he rolls up in a moped. So he just kind of scoots on in on his moped, shows up to the house in order to start attacking the demon. And the demon, which is possessing the boy, is a real wacko. Like, this guy's a goofball. So before Gabriele gets there, like right before he gets there, the mom notices something's wrong with the child. He's kind of bedridden and he looks pale. And then he starts talking in a not really deep voice, but you know that like goofy voice you'd make as a child growing up, like the like that kind of shit where you like vocal fry yourself and then try and make it deeper. That's the voice, the very cliche horror movie demon voice. And the mom then hugs the child in order to like, you know, calm him down. And while that's happening, she looks down and it turns out the child is squeezing her titty. And then she's like, oh, goodness gracious. And he's like, you didn't breastfeed me enough, mommy. I shit you not. That is what he says. And she's like, oh God. And she like covers herself up even more. And then he starts laughing about like squeezing her tit. And then he says, bring me the priest. So they brought in a priest that wasn't Gabriele first. His name was Thomas, and it was a bigger mismatch than when Krillin tried to fight Frieza. Thomas shows up and immediately gets fucking ragdolled by that demon. He gets thrown out of the room and he's like, good heavens, this is a little much for me. We're gonna need the big guns. So he leaves and then Gabriele shows up. So then it's the two of them and they try to tag team the demon in order to, you know, solve this situation. So Gabriele gets in there and he starts his interrogation, and the demon immediately showcases that he's more powerful than all the other ones Gabriele's seen because he knocks a cross off the wall. Like, I'm so tired of seeing that in horror movies where, like, this really powerful demon can only do, like, a couple of trivial things, like blow over a vase or move a chair slightly or throw a bucket of dirt against a wall. It's like, who cares? It's not intimidating. That's fucking embarrassing. But Gabriele's like, oh, jeepers creepers. And then he's like, what's my name? And the demon gets it right. He's like, you're Gabriele Amorth. Then he gets blasted with memories from his past, sins that he hasn't fully forgiven himself for. So there's, like, a moment where he's in a war, and then there's like a lady, and then the demon pukes up a bird, and then Gabriele's like, oh, I'm out of here. So then he fucking waddles out of the room, goes up to the other priest, Thomas, and he's like, okay, that guy means business. So then he instructs Thomas to confess his sins to him so they can't be used against him when they go, you know, talk to the demon again. So Thomas is like, all right, it's been 8 months since I went to confession. And he starts to confess his sins. And Gabriele's like, 8 months? Okay, this is going to take too long. He's like, okay, Lord, all of his sins are forgiven. He's very sorry, trust me. So he literally uses a cheat code to forgive his sins on behalf of God, which I thought was, like, almost disrespectful. It's like, what the fuck? Can you do that? Like, are you allowed to do that? Like, do you have the power to just say, like, all of his sins are forgiven without him actually confessing it? I was like, damn, that was weird. Like, he had no interest at all in hearing, like, the sins he was going to confess to. He's just like, yeah, whatever, you're fucking good. Literally just gives him the stamp of approval, and he's like, alright, time to go. And when they get into the room, unsurprisingly, the first thing the demon does is show Thomas his sins that he has clearly not been absolved of. It looks like Gabriele didn't have the authority to do that, so he immediately just gets blasted with his sins. and the demon calls him Panty Sniffer. He says that he fucks the daughters of members of his congregation. And then this makes Thomas very upset that he'd mentioned that. So Thomas goes over to him, the child that's possessed by the demon, and two hands strangles him and shakes him like Homer Simpson strangling Bart. It was so goofy. And Gabriella's like, please, Thomas, no, don't do it. That's what he wants. As the child's like, getting fucking strangled by Thomas. That was a good fucking silly scene. But after that, then the demon laughs and then he targets Gabrielle. And he's like, you know what I want to do, Gabrielle? I want to fuck you. I want to fuck you so hard that when you start coming, you're gonna feel ashamed by the release. I'm not kidding. That was his statement. Like, when asked about his main goal, it was to fuck Gabrielle. And not, like, in a literal sense, to fuck Gabrielle, at least from the way he was speaking about it. Which was jarring to hear that. It was so weird. It was so fucking weird. And then they start trying to get, like, the religious artifacts out on him, like, the power of Christ compels you type shit. And it's not working. The demon then turns off the lights, which for some reason makes them stop immediately. And I'm kind of just giving you, like, an overall plot summary of everything that happens here, but I want to stress, and I can't stress enough how there is at no point any attempt to even build tension or show you unnerving things or make anything scary. It's like AI generated a script of a horror film without figuring out how to execute on the scares that they're copying from all of the horror films before it. Like, it is so bland. But anyway, after the lights go out, Gabrielle and Thomas split up. Gabrielle then goes outside and notices that there's a seal of the Vatican on, like, a well. So he ties a rope to the top of the well and then his moped and drives it, and then, which, you know, takes the lid off the well. Thomas is still inside, posted up, making sure, like, the demon child's not up to any silly stuff, any fishy business. But then things start popping off. The mom has, like, a giant arm come over her while she's sleeping, and I don't even know how she's able to even, like, fucking find the time to go to sleep with the demon child always yelling and screaming and, like, throwing things around the room. Well, that's an exaggeration. Knocking things around the room lightly. But she's, like, in bed trying to sleep, and then a giant hand comes over her face and drags her into the mattress slowly. And then the daughter, who's in her rebellious stage, is trapped in a closet with, like, a bunch of, like, scratches going across the wood next to her. And Thomas is there, and he, you know, approaches the demon about it, like, stop it, demon. And then the demon bites his ear, like full-blown Mike Tyson bites a piece of his ear, and Thomas is like, oh my, you didn't just do that. Like, he didn't yell or scream or anything, he gets his ear bitten off, and he just looks more like inconvenienced than anything. He's like, ugh. There goes a piece of my ear, zoinks, god damn it. And then he just, like, walks back out. So Gabrielle then realizes that there's a lot more at play here than they originally thought. There's a bigger mystery afoot now that he's opened this well, and he sees a bunch of, like, skeletons, and then he drops a piece of fire paper in there to see how deep the well goes, which of course causes it to erupt like a goddamn volcano again, just like what happened with the glory hole. And then Gabrielle rushes back in, sees all the chaos, he pulls the mom out from the bed, and then he opens the closet door where the daughter was getting attacked by little scratches, and he's like, this is not a good place to do that, so please stop. Cease that foolishness. And the demon stops, and then the girl leaves the closet. And then we have the most generic plot device when it comes to horror films ever. Gabrielle reveals that all they need to do in order to save the day is learn the demon's name. This is something that has been used in every fucking horror movie that deals with demons or possession since the beginning of fucking time. It is so lazy and boring, but that's the major plot point. It's them then needing to find out what the demon's name is. So they start exploring. They also confront the demon again, who reveals what his real plot was: to possess Gabrielle. He didn't want to just possess the family, he wanted Gabrielle. So they're exploring the premises. They eventually find that glory hole and they bust it open. They go inside the area. Turns out it's a catacombs where there's a bunch of these skeletons all over the place. And then while this is happening, the, like, super high tier bishop, like max level bishop that sent Gabrielle here in the first place, then starts having a panic attack. He's like, it's worse than we thought. He read, like, a letter or something from, like, a book of reports that they keep getting about the situation. He's like, oh my goodness. So he starts freaking out. He's like, ah. and then he has like a little mini heart attack. He ends up in the hospital, and as they're exploring the catacombs, they're learning like, wow, this dates back like fucking 400 years ago. Like, this demon's been around for a long time, and the Vatican tried to seal it off and cover it up. And then while that's going on, the priest is laying, like the high bishop is laying in bed, surrounded by some of the priests that were part of like the religious legal proceeding. And then he pulls off his oxygen mask and just pukes up blood on one of them. So I guess he was starting to get like possessed too to some level, or he was really just stressed out about the situation. But they eventually find like this almost ritualistic chamber. I can't remember exactly what it was for, but it has like a torture device in there. It also then has like what was a very strong priest back in the day on like a throne, and they read his diary, and in that diary they learn the demon's name. It's Asmodeus, and he can possess a lot of different people. He's like a fucking puppet master. And Aaron, I saw this with Aaron as well as Ridley, Eli, and Tiana. Aaron made a great point. If the whole thing is you only need the demon's name in order to win, that super strong priest must have been really lacking. Like, he must have been fucking, you know, overdosing on Xanax or something and really dropped the ball, because he literally had Asmodeus' name not only written down in the diary or written down in the book, but had a full fucking picture, hand-drawn painting with like a stylized Asmodeus name under there. So like the name was readily available, and was still unsuccessful in the exorcism and saving the day. So that guy must have fucking sucked. He must have been terrible at his job. So they learn the demon's name is Asmodeus. As they learn that, one of the other priests that was really mean to Gabriele walks through and sees that the Lord on the crucifix is bleeding a little bit, and he's like, no! And then he takes a sabbatical and leaves for some reason. So now they have the demon's name. They then confront the demon. They're trying to like win, but the demon, you know, starts possessing the daughter. He still has the son. He's like writing things on his chest like, God isn't here. God is not welcome. No God allowed. You know, this is a demons only club. And he's like, you know, strangling someone with Thomas with his tie. The demon girl that he's now possessed is like slapping the mom around. And then Gabriele, in order to stop the madness, is like, alright, fine, just possess me. So he does. Asmodeus then possesses Gabriele. His plan was to infiltrate the Vatican in order to cause mayhem and wreak havoc. And so he goes downstairs into the throne room and he grabs a giant scepter, and Thomas walks in like the fucking action movie hero. And then he sees the girl that he fucked from the congregation. She's got like her titties out and shit and starts fighting. They get into a fist fight. She's covered in blood. Gabriele is still trying to fight back against Asmodeus, but it's not winning. Thomas then has like this little coin or something that he pushes on the forehead of the girl, which blows her up. Literally insta-gives her like it's Team Fortress 2. And then Gabriele's in like a one-on-one battle with the demon. I also totally forgot a core component here because I'm getting lost in the sauce explaining it. But one of Gabriele's big sins that the demon keeps showing him is a long time ago there was a lady who they thought was possessed. Gabriele went there and learned it wasn't a possession, it was a mental illness. She was just talking about like sexual abuse, trauma and stuff, and Gabriele's like, I'm not really equipped to handle that. And then she bit the head off of a bird in front of him, and he's like, yeah, this is just mental illness. And then she ends up killing herself right in front of him, and Gabriele feels immense regret for not helping her and working on the mental health side of exorcisms. So that's why he swore to like do that from that point forward, but he never forgave himself. So the demon's showing him that, and then after Thomas blows up that girl, they also, the sound effect they used for the blowing up was fucking fantastic. I'm actually pretty sure it came straight from Counter-Strike after you armed the bomb. It sounded outrageous. So after that, Gabriele is wrestling with that girl, shaking her around, and then Thomas throws him like a powerful religious artifact, and he fucking sticks it on her head, throws her into like this pit of water, and then starts reading the demon's name to it and vanquishing it to hell, and saves the day. Family's safe, demons back in hell, and then we have the ending of the film, which once again brought it back to a silly bad state, where the high bishop that puked blood, I guess, is totally fine now. You know, maybe that's just something he does when he's stressed out, I guess, but like he wasn't even possessed or anything. He's just like totally fucking fine. The other priest that took a sabbatical gets replaced, and then they bring in Thomas and Gabriele, and they're like, yeah, this was a serious situation, but it's 1 of 200. You've only solved 1 out of 200. There's still 199 more to go. Are you willing to take up the task? Like actual Marvel Avengers Nick Fury recruiting them level shit. And Thomas is like, let's get to business. And Gabrielle reaches back for a handshake and says, let's go to hell. And that's where it ends. Literally setting it up for sequels like a fucking Men in Black style universe for this, where they're just going to different places and performing exorcisms. So, that was the whole film in a nutshell. The reason I wanted to explain all of it is because explaining it makes it sound far more fun shitty than it is. Everything I explained in theory is fun bad, but in execution is fucking awful. I don't really know what the purpose of this movie was because, like I said, it doesn't even really try to be scary or unnerving. It's actually just kind of a genuine waste of time. There are entertaining moments, like I said, there are times where it is goofy, fun, bad, but that's not the overall experience with the film. Like, there were times where we laughed at the silliness, but most of the time it was just sitting there in silence, wasting time watching it. It just didn't do anything in general. Like, it just didn't do anything. It was just kind of a fucking mess of a film where it had, like, DNA of all of the horror films before it, but didn't even bother to execute it in any meaningful way. It didn't even try. Like, it literally feels like they didn't try at all. That just they had some kind of contractual obligation to fulfill, so they just fucking pooped this out as quickly as possible. It really seemed like it was very rushed. But yeah, I wanted to talk about it because I was very excited to see this movie. I've talked about it on stream a few times about how, like, I'm really confident that this will be a fun bad movie, and I was just wrong. It really wasn't fun bad at all. So yeah, I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit and rant. That's about it. So yeah.
Matches up like a politician having a meaningful conversation.
Well, it's not about a politics. It's just we have to be able to have meaningful.
We're at the sacrifice of nuance.
Well, we need to be able to have a meaningful conversation about groups of people. Meaning we can't talk about everything.
I'm talking about individuals. I don't want us. I don't.
No,
agree.
but I agree. But we're talking about. Are we talking
nuance.
about individuals or an individual? There's a difference there, right? You can't talk about multiple individuals ever. You're only ever talking about an individual because there is no such thing as individuals. That's a group of people. That's not one person. It's not a group of individuals. There's either a group or there's one person, right? Between you and your girlfriend, you on average both have half a dick. That doesn't make any sense, right? One of you has a penis and one of you, well, I'm assuming.
I think we're at least.
Maybe you're at 0.75. Okay, sure. But I'm saying that between the two of you, on average, right, you have half of a uterus You both on average have half a penis. You both on average have half a ball sack. But that doesn't really make any
You're
sense,
just
right?
confusing me by talking about my balls, but continue. You're distracted.
I'm just saying
what
that.
Are you trying to get me to do?
What I'm trying to say is that, like, if we're talking about an individual, that's going to be different than talking about groups of people. When we talk about groups of people, we have to use averages and stuff because it doesn't make sense to say we're going to talk about every single individual person, right? We can't do that. We have to talk about averages. That's all I'm saying.
I guess I just don't think about listening that way. When I say we should listen to men about abortion, I don't mean the coalition of men. I mean, if you're at a dinner party and a man starts talking about abortion, I don't think it's right to say this doesn't affect you. Shut the fuck up. But that's what happens.
I agree with you. I think that's true.
Right. So then when you say men don't, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect men as much. On average, yeah. But my problem is that the people then use that fact as a tool to silence the individual.
Sure, I agree that some people do that as well, and that when you talk in averages,
I feel you are doing it to me. You're saying that this doesn't affect me.
Well, no, I wasn't trying to say
because
that. I was speaking.
I'm a cis person.
No, I was speaking about society, not you. It might be that you personally have incredibly strong feelings that you're ready to go to war for about.
I am.
Yeah. Okay. That might be the case. In which case, that's fine. But my question isn't about you particularly, because I'm not as interested in talking about a society that's modeled around just you. It's about everybody, right? That's typically what we talk about.
What's your question?
Well, my initial point, I guess, in a very roundabout way, what we're trying to get to is I was just saying that generally trans people and other marginalized groups probably feel like they have a lot more at stake in these conversations. So it's harder for them to just have a kind of blasé, like, oh, well, let's just wait and see how things go. Maybe we can try this, because there's a lot more at stake for them in these conversations than for somebody like you and I, who isn't going to be determined whether or not we get like a medical treatment or something.
Yeah, that's true. I think that is used to. I think the problem with a complex psychological issue, it's not even that. Like, I think there's a lot of value. Okay, so yeah, the downside to listening to people who are not in your group that shares your concerns is they might not give a shit, and they might just be saying it because they don't want to deal with you. And I would say that's actually true of people who advocate for your group as well. That's a problem with listening to your allies.
Could be.
Is that your allies have so much social pressure on them to be your allies, they might not actually be your allies. They might be placating you so they don't have to listen to you or talk to you. And with BLM, I think we both agree. Again, the allies are like when Nike changes its logo to a black square in a show of allyship, they're also dodging a bullet and trying to make some money.
Sure, that could be the case.
And that happens on an individual level as well. There
okay,
are people
yeah,
who are just
that
like,
could be the
nah,
case.
nah,
Yeah,
like,
sure.
Just tell me what to say and I'll say it. And that's not necessarily a loving or empathetic stance, even if the thing they're saying happens to be what you want to hear.
Sure, that could be the case, yeah.
It is the goddamn case. And I think that when it comes to trans people, yes, I am asking for some trust that I am speaking from a place of genuine empathy and care, and that it's not a dismissal.
Hallo?
And the downside to that is like, yeah, you're hearing, it might not be true. I might just be saying controversial shit for money. And yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I might even believe.
If a trans person says it, it means more.
And I might actually even believe you. But then earlier in this conversation, you said that the problem, though, is that there's a lot of vitriol from the other side that doesn't feel that same way. It doesn't come from a caring place or an empathetic place. It comes from an incredibly hateful place.
Yeah.
So I think that's the scary part about how some of those conversations play out, that people aren't looking out for what's the best, more just what satisfies my desire the most. And for some of those people who are looking to satisfy their desires the most, they're not even really intimately affected by it, like the same way that a trans person might be, whether or not they can live in the body of their choosing or something.
Yeah. Well, also, yeah. And like, what trans person wants to hear potentially transphobic person number 9999 explain their nuanced view when the other, 10,000 have turned out to be, oh, you just hate trans people.
Yeah.
It's under, yeah, I guess when I'm saying don't punch Nazis and like empathize with your detractors or whoever you think are your detractors, I'm not trying to say that there's, it's understandable to want to dismiss those people, especially if you feel psychologically fragile the way many trans people report feeling. I can understand why you would want to be like, no, I don't want to listen to this shit. I guess I just mean, to the extent that you can tolerate hearing out like a white supremacist explain why you need to be in a concentration camp. It's not, or dead. It's not the most pleasant thing to listen to, but I think that is our only path forward out of extreme polarization.
Sure, and I generally agree because I'm a really big free speech guy. I'm also a very, very big free speech guy.
I've heard that about you.
Yeah.
Your reputation precedes you.
Thank you, yes. But, and this is something that conservatives always seem to miss, and it really triggers the fuck out of me. Not saying you're a conservative, by the way, but for people that tend to advocate for free speech, is to quote the philosopher Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility. And it seems like people want sometimes all of the privilege of freedom of speech, but they won't take a look at the costs sometimes. And free speech, you must acknowledge, it does have great costs. Absolutely.
I am conservative on this issue. Well, conservatives don't respect like freedom of the press, in my opinion.
It seems like it. Yeah.
So that's my main gripe with them on free speech. But I think it is chilling free speech. I don't even like the word responsibility.
Well, when I say responsibility, what I mean is there is a cost. Like, here's something, right? The NSA and the CIA could probably prevent 100% of terrorist attacks if we let them tap every single device and give them unlimited access to information. But
theoretically,
yeah, they probably could. But that's not a trade-off. It's not one I'm willing to make. I'm guessing it's probably not one that you're willing to make. We accept that, like, we're going to have some trouble in society.
Freedom and security.
Yeah, but that's a cost of the freedom of speech that we have. That's just part of the game. But we accept that.
Okay, so you're not saying the response. When you say you should use your free speech responsibly, you're saying that from a moral perspective.
Oh no, I'm not even saying you should use it responsibly. You can be crazy with it, but at the very least, you must acknowledge that there are some harms that come about as a result of that.
Of talking? Yeah, I think talking can be hard.
Yeah, and the issue I have is that just like how on the left, sometimes people can say everything is all, daisies and rainbows. For instance, like when it comes to abortions, people on the left don't ever talk enough about how hard it is to have an abortion. It's one of the biggest reasons why people that are pro-choice become pro-life. Is because they have an abortion, and then when they go online, they see a bunch of dipshit women who've never been pregnant in their lives talk about how great abortion is, and they've just had an incredibly fucking traumatic experience, and then they're like, this is actually horrible. I'm pro-life now. I don't ever want anybody to experience this. But on the flip side...
No room for bad feelings.
Yeah. On the flip side, conservatives will say things where they're like, or remember how earlier you're like, nobody can accept that, like, being fat is bad. You want to over-accommodate everything. I feel like conservatives do it a little bit too when it comes to free speech. No, there's no downside to free speech. It's awesome. Everything is great. It's like, well, no, there are actually some people that can be harmed by things, some bad ideas, some bad movements, some bad things can come out of freedom of speech. But we have to accept that those are the trade-offs that, like, well, we want freedom of speech, but there's going to be some harm caused by it. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
So all I would ask for, and I'm not even, this isn't like necessarily super directed at you because it seems like you kind of understand. So like, you have to acknowledge, I'm using you in the general form, not you personally. But like, I think it has to be acknowledged that like conversations relating to somebody's existence or their access to like medical care is always going to be a far more like intimately effective or a conversation that affects them more than an external party having it where you don't actually have that same incredibly intimate experience with that thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I agree with that, but I think that can also give people a better perspective.
Which part of that, or what do you mean? Oh, to hear like an outside person's like their perspective.
Like if I'm going to have a midlife crisis and spend all my money on NFTs, having somebody who doesn't know what an NFT even is at the beginning of the conversation talk to me about it could actually be more beneficial than having somebody who is also super affected by NFTs.
It's possible, yeah, for sure.
I'm just saying that it's not. I don't think that inherently means that an outsider's opinion
is worthless,
less valuable.
Yeah,
it's just different. I
agree. I agree. But sometimes having the internal perspective is sometimes more important. Generally, it's more valuable, right?
Because I think what's particularly annoying about the way I talk about trans people is that I do keep mentioning my emotional experience because it is a strong one, and I actually do really care emotionally.
Which is
about
fine.
Trans
you
people,
can, yeah.
But I'm also about my own life. Like I do feel really horrified by what I see the political steamrolling of various like academic fields. It freaks me out, and it scares me seeing a future where placation of everyone becomes the norm, and like there's no place for me. That I do feel constricted by it, and yes, it is broader, and it's not entering my doctor's office, but it does affect me, and I don't think that should be discounted.
I agree. I think that's fair.
You're just saying it should be noted that it doesn't affect me as much or as immediately.
Or at the very least, note the effects of the other side. If you don't want to weigh them, at least understand that while you're having a conversation about your personal comfort or discomfort in living in a certain society, the other person is having a conversation about like their medical future. That at the very least, that's what's at stake for them.
I think that if I'm talking to a trans person, I'm definitely not going to talk about it the same way I'm talking about it with you because of what you said. I agree that a certain awareness and sensitivity needs to be brought into the conversation when you're talking about whatever, any topic with the marginalized person that the topic affects.
Sure. Yeah, I think sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, anything else?
I don't think so. You?
I don't think so. Well, do you want to shout out your channel?
Mr. Girl.
Okay. What do you normally do on your channel?
I just released a rap album.
Rap album?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I made the Cuties review, and everybody called me a pedophile. Then I made a music video called "I'm a Pedophile," which was a parody of Eminem's "I'm a Criminal."
Okay.
And then everybody was like, "Oh, you should. This is like Weird Al. This is funny and blah." And I was like, "Fuck you." So then I made a real rap song that I just wrote myself. And then people were like, "Oh my god, this is awesome." And then I made a whole rap album. But simultaneously to this, I was making videos about gender and videos about Kyle Rittenhouse, just like kind of political essays. And now I'm working on a video about Stone Toss's NFT release.
Oh god. Do you hate NFTs or do you love NFTs?
I'm starting to hate them. The more every time I get invited to a new NFT Discord, I hate them a little more.
Why do you hate them so much?
The extreme opportunity for market manipulation and dishonesty and lack of transparency. What I've come to is the people who love NFTs, like the libertarians who love NFTs and who hate communism, ironically, are relying on the goodwill and good intentions and morality of their fellow man when who knows who's bought a Bored Ape? Maybe no one has ever bought a Bored Ape. How much does it cost to give the appearance of buying a Bored Ape? $50.
Sure. Have
So
you ever
if
heard
you
of
have-
the term like painting the tape?
No.
A long time ago, when stocks were traded, there was a little ticker, or there was a printer that actually like printed out every time a new trade happened. And to
Yeah.
give the illusion there's a lot of activity around a stock, you might buy and sell it or trade it between two people over and over again. And that expression is you're painting the tape. And it's what you're
Okay.
expecting. Yeah. So when you have somebody buying something a lot to generate like a false interest about it and stuff like that.
So
Yeah.
with NFTs,
Mm-hmm.
with anonymous wallets, you can draw the price history graph to
However-
look like whatever you want, and it only costs the gas fees to draw a dot.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a lot of money and influence, or you have a lot of money to launder anyway, you could just buy 3,000 Bored Apes from yourself, and then you have the apes and the money. Like, so people have to be doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know who, I don't know where, I don't know how to figure it out, but I really want to. What I'm coming to is that it has to be some sort of statistical pattern that arises, some mistake, or an insider who was going to talk to me about it. So I've interviewed Stone Toss. I'm convinced that if there's any funny business going on with his NFT, which sold $2 million worth in 20 minutes.
Jesus.
He's got 200,000 followers. The guy ain't that famous. I don't get it. But I also am just I'm naive. So maybe it's true. I don't know. I want to figure it out. I'm convinced that if there is any funny business going on, he doesn't know about it.
Okay.
He was approached by a team that does NFT releases, and I've been approached by somebody who does NFT releases to ask me if I want to make an NFT, and that we didn't get to the business part because I got uncomfortable. But I've seen multiple artists tweeting out, "Hey, stop asking me if I want to do NFT projects." It seems that there are groups of people going around to artists or YouTubers with like, whatever, and maybe this has happened to you. I'm sure it has. People have to be approaching you.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I did a sponsorship once for a site called eternal.gg. That was a fun one.
Okay.
And then, I get a lot of like personal emails, but
yeah, like, do you want to do an NFT project?
Yeah,
we'll do all the development, and then you give us some percentage of the money. Right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Or like sites where it's like we've already got like a thing reserved with your name, and you just have to claim this, and then you can do this.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right. Free money. So at the end of the Stone Toss release, the wallet that was collecting all the money paid out $1 million to one wallet and $350,000 to 3 other wallets. And I was like, okay, so is that your development team? And he said, I don't want to answer that.
Okay.
Then he cashed out that wallet. The big wallet sat in Ethereum for 2 weeks. He cashed out that, I assume Stone Toss cashed out that wallet, and then the same day was in a Twitter space in public listening to advice about paying taxes on your NFTs.
Okay.
So I have to assume that's him, and then that I have a high degree of confidence, but can't say for sure that the developers got the other half. So like, I don't like NFTs because nobody knows what the fuck is going on. It's easy to lie to people, and if you can lie to people, you will lie to people. And I don't understand how these people square that with, well, communism doesn't work because people are too corrupt. But NFTs, when you could draw the price graph for $50 a point, these are solid investment. It just until the technology is being used for something that makes more sense, it just feels, not even by design. I'm sure lots of people aren't even trying to be evil. It's like a pyramid scheme, though. Just in its structure and in what I think is going to happen at the end.
It feels like there might be some cool utilities for NFTs, but right now everybody's just trying to like buy and sell and like trade scam each other. They're saying like, oh, if you buy this, you'll become rich, or if you do this, like you could sell this in the future.
Yeah.
And like, I agree with that.
It's just fucking. It's just the people who you are talking into buying these. NFTs are not rich,
Mhm.
and the people talking them into it are.
Yeah,
Like
so it's
watching Logan Paul and Mr. Beast talk about CryptoPunks, and like they like told the story about this call where this like guy had all these billionaires on the call and was like, no, seriously, you got to buy them, and like he convinced them all to buy like 5 or 10 each, and they're like, yo, they did pretty well, and it's like, yeah, yeah, they did well, and then you sold them. That's a pump and dump.
Mhm.
It just.
Do you
and
feel
then-
the
and
same
then-
way about? I'm curious. Do you feel the same way about cryptocurrency in general?
Yes, except crypto. I feel the same way more about crypto, like not Bitcoin as a whole, but when someone starts a new cryptocurrency.
Yeah, the rug
right?
pulls, the new cryptos.
The rug
that
pulls,
show- yeah.
because you can't. You have to have a lot of money now to manipulate the entire like Bitcoin like
to do
marketplace.
Bitcoin, Ethereum, any of the big coins is going to be a lot more difficult. Yeah.
Exactly, but an NFT, it feels like it's Ethereum, but it's not.
Because it's on the
Because
Ethereum chain.
It's
So-
on the Ethereum chain, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
new currency with limited tokens, is entirely under the control of one person who may or may not have enough money to dictate the price that you see when you want to buy it.
Mhm.
And what makes all this worse is that almost all of this, every purchase of an NFT usually involves one or more parasocial relationships that the audience member has with streamers or creators who they believe that they know, they believe that they love, they believe that they can trust, they believe is looking out for their best interest, looking them in the eye and telling them, I think this is really going to blow up.
Yeah,
this
sure.
is what's best for you.
Mhm.
You really should do this. It feels very wrong.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah. And then,
So I don't
none
have
of the
to- I don't
people
have-
buying it or any of the people really, even the people selling it, don't even really know what an NFT is. Like if you ask them, like,
No.
yeah,
No, it's a receipt with possible other things written into it.
Mhm.
And so I don't have the arguments of like why would anybody buy, like I get that digital collecting can be cool and it's a cool idea and that it could have utility,
Mhm.
but there's so much room for fraud and manipulation that you might think it's cool, but all the things that you see that made you think it was cool, that made you think other people think it was cool, could all be entirely fabricated. You might be the only person on Earth who has ever genuinely bought an NFT, and you would have no way to know
Yeah.
that unless you personally know somebody else
Mhm.
who has done it, and that's freaky.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's I'm working on that now. That's it's like a detective movie.
Well,
that I'm making.
Good luck with that one.
Thanks.
Be careful. Stay safe. I've got to chat with another guy coming up, so I need to abandon you. Okay.
I understand. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks for the conversation. I appreciate it, man.
Take care.
Have a good one.
You too.
Wow, what a guy. Okay, I know that the service is talking to a dude, but I'm supposed to talk to Mr. Beard. Oh, so I have to do this.